David Carradine is standing on the kung fu set when a producer grabs his arm and whispers 4 words. Bruce Lee is dead. A crew member nearby mutters loud enough for everyone to hear. Bet he is relieved. What David does in the next 60 seconds does not show relief. It shows something no one on that set expected. Something that changes how 30 people think about the man who took Bruce Lee's role. Burbank, California, July 20th, 1973, Friday afternoon, 2:47 p.m., Warner Brothers Studio, Stage 16, the Kung Fu set. The soundstage is massive, 40,000 square feet of controlled environment, air conditioning humming against the July heat outside. Inside it is cool and precise, perfect conditions for filming. The smell of sawdust and fresh paint from the western town. Facade they built last week. Coffee brewing somewhere. The electric hum of lights warming up. 30 crew members move with practiced efficiency. Camera operators checking angles. Grips adjusting flags and scrims. The gaffer calling out instructions to his team. Sound technicians running cables across the floor. Makeup artists standing by with powder and brushes. The machinery of television production grinding forward like it does every day. Episode 47 of Season 2. They are 3 days behind schedule. The director wants to make up time today. Everyone feels the pressure. Tight shots, quick setups, no wasted minutes. David Carradine sits in his chair near the video monitors, wearing the Kane costume. Simple brown robes, bare feet, head shaved for the role. He looks nothing like the man who showed up to audition 3 years ago. Long hair gone. California tan faded under studio lights. He has become Kwai Chang Caine, the wandering Shaolin monk, the most peaceful man on American television. 28 million viewers every week. Fan mail arriving by the truckload. Children practicing fake kung fu in their backyards. Adults quoting Caine's philosophy at dinner parties. David Carradine has become one of the most recognized faces in America, but there is always the shadow. Everyone in Hollywood knows the story. It follows David like a second skin. Bruce Lee created this concept. Bruce Lee walked into Warner Brothers with the idea of a Shaolin monk wandering the American West. Bruce Lee pitched it to executives who nodded and smiled and took notes. Bruce Lee was supposed to play Kwai Chang Caine, but the studio said no. Too Chinese. American audiences would not accept a Chinese lead in prime time. His accent was too strong. His face was too foreign. He was too authentic for a show about authenticity. They chose David Carradine instead, a white man with no martial arts training, an actor who learned to throw fake punches for the camera, a performer pretending to be something Bruce Lee actually was. David knows this. He has known it since the first day of filming. Every interview someone asks about Bruce Lee. Every magazine article mentions the controversy. Every time he strikes a pose on camera, he thinks about the real martial artist who should be standing in his place. The guilt lives in his chest like a stone, heavy, permanent, impossible to remove. They are between setups. 15-minute break while the crew adjusts lighting for the next scene. David uses these moments to stay in character, eyes half closed, breathing slow and deep. Finding the stillness that Caine requires, finding the peace that David himself cannot feel. Some actors leave character between takes, go back to being themselves, joke with the crew, check their messages. David cannot do that. If he leaves Caine, he has to be David Carradine, the man who took Bruce Lee's role, the man who benefits every day from someone else's loss. So he stays in character, hides inside the monk, pretends to be peaceful when he is anything but. Then he sees the producer walking toward him, Robert Mintz, executive producer, silver hair slicked back, expensive charcoal suit, Italian shoes that cost more than most crew members make in a week. The man who signs the checks, the man who makes the final decisions. the man who rarely comes to set because his time is too valuable for day-to-day production. When Robert Mintz walks onto the soundstage, something important is happening. His face is wrong, pale beneath the California tan, jaw tight, eyes carrying something heavy, the face of a man who has bad news and does not want to deliver it. He stops in front of David's chair, does not sit down, does not make small talk, just stands there for a moment, looking at David with an expression that mixes sympathy and uncertainty and something else, something like fear. "David, can I speak with you privately?" David opens his eyes, looks up at Robert, sees the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands grip each other. Of course. David stands, follows Robert to a quiet corner of the soundstage, behind a stack of equipment cases, away from the crew, away from the cameras, just the two of them in a pocket of privacy. Robert takes a breath. His voice drops low. "I just got a call from Hong Kong. There is no easy way to say this." He pauses, swallows hard. "Bruce Lee collapsed this morning at a friend's apartment. They rushed him to the hospital, but they could not revive him. He was pronounced dead at 11 p.m. Hong Kong time." The words enter David's ears, but do not reach his brain. Not at first. They hang in the air between them. Abstract. Impossible. Bruce Lee is dead. He was 32 years old. David does not move, does not speak, does not react in any visible way. His face stays perfectly still, the cane mask holding even now. Robert watches him, waiting for something. Shock, tears, relief, guilt, anything human that he can respond to. But David gives him nothing. Just that stillness. That monk-like calm that everyone finds so unsettling because they can never tell what is happening beneath. 10 seconds pass, 20, 30. The silence stretches until it becomes uncomfortable. "David, did you hear what I said?" David's voice comes out flat, controlled, barely above a whisper. "I heard you." More silence. Robert shifts his weight. He does not know what to do with this response, does not know if David is in shock or denial or something else entirely. The crew does not know yet. "I came to you first. I thought you should hear it before the news spreads." David nods slowly. A mechanical movement. His eyes are distant, looking at something Robert cannot see. "Thank you for telling me." A grip walks past. Young guy named Tommy. He stops when he sees the two men standing in the corner, sees the tension in their posture. Senses something wrong. "Everything okay, Mr. Mintz?" Robert hesitates, looks at David. David speaks before Robert can answer. "Bruce Lee died this morning." The words come out clear and direct. No softening, no preparation, just the fact delivered like a blade. Tommy's eyes go wide. His mouth opens, closes, opens again. Bruce Lee. The Bruce Lee? Yes. Tommy turns, walks back toward the main set, fast, almost running. He reaches a group of crew members near the coffee table, whispers something. Their faces change. They whisper to others. Within 60 seconds, the news has spread across the entire soundstage. The set goes quiet. 30 people standing still. Conversations dying mid-sentence. Tools lowering. Movement stopping. All of them processing the same information. All of them looking at David Carradine. The man who took Bruce Lee's role. The man who got famous while Bruce Lee got rejected. The man who is standing right there wearing the costume that should have belonged to someone else. Everyone is thinking the same thing. Nobody says it. The silence is thick with unspoken accusations and assumptions. Then someone says it. Frank DeLuca, gaffer, 58 years old, been in the business since 1941, started as a grip at RKO, worked his way up through 3 decades of Hollywood productions, seen everything, said everything. The kind of old-timer who speaks his mind because he is too established to fire and too old to care. He is standing near the craft services table, coffee cup in hand. He says it loud enough for everyone to hear. "Well, Bet Carradine is relieved. His competition just disappeared. The words land like a slap. Everyone freezes, eyes darting between Frank and David, the accusation hanging in the air like smoke. Frank does not back down. He has been thinking this since the day David got cast. Everyone has. He is just the one willing to say it out loud. Come on, we all know the story. Lee pitched this show. Lee should have had this role. Carradine got it instead because he is white, and Lee was not. Now Lee is dead, and Carradine gets to keep everything without anyone comparing them anymore. He takes a sip of coffee. Defiant. Tell me I am wrong. Silence. Nobody moves. David turns slowly, looks at Frank. The older man meets his gaze, does not flinch. 30 years of Hollywood has burned away any fear of confrontation. David walks toward him. Slow, deliberate, each step measured. The entire set watching. He stops 2 feet from Frank. Close enough to hit. Close enough to scream. Close enough to do what everyone expects. He does neither. His voice comes out quiet, controlled, almost gentle. What is your name? Frank blinks. This is not the response he expected. Frank DeLuca. Frank, how long have you worked in this industry? 32 years, give or take. In 32 years, have you ever lost someone who mattered to you? Frank's jaw tightens. His grip on the coffee cup shifts. That is not the point. Answer the question. The set is absolutely silent. No one breathes, no one moves. 30 people watching 2 men stand face to face. Frank swallows. My brother. Vietnam. 1968. Khe San. David nods slowly. His expression softens slightly. When you heard your brother died, did you feel relieved that you did not have to compete with him anymore? Frank's face changes. The hardness cracks. Something vulnerable flashes behind his eyes before he can hide it. That is different. Is it? David's voice stays quiet, steady. Bruce Lee and I were connected, not by choice, not by friendship, by circumstance, by a decision neither of us made. Someone in a boardroom decided I should have his role. I did not ask for it. He did not deserve to lose it. But that is what happened. He pauses. I took something that was his. I knew it. He knew it. The whole world knew it. Every time I put on these robes, I think about it. Every time someone calls me a martial arts star, I remember that I am not. I am an actor pretending to be what Bruce Lee actually was. Frank's coffee cup lowers slightly, his defiant posture softening. And I always thought someday I would meet him. Someday I would find a way to apologize. Someday I would tell him that I understood what was taken from him, that I never asked for it, that if I could give it back, I would. David's voice cracks, just slightly, just enough to show what is happening beneath the surface. Now someday will never come. That door closed forever 30 minutes ago. And you think I feel relieved? Frank cannot meet his eyes anymore. His gaze drops to the floor. I did not mean. David cuts him off. Not angry, just clear. I know what you meant, and I understand why you said it, because that is what everyone is thinking. That is what the newspapers will write tomorrow. Carradine benefits from Lee's death. That is the story people want to believe. He looks around the room, making eye contact with every crew member, every actor, every person on that soundstage. But here is the truth. Bruce Lee should be standing where I am standing. Every person in this room knows that. I have known it since the first day I put on these robes. A woman near the monitors has tears running down her cheeks. A young grip is staring at his shoes. The assistant director has his hand over his mouth. I never met him, never got to shake his hand, never got to tell him I understood, never got to thank him for not hating me when he had every right to hate me. His voice breaks, and now I never will. The soundstage is completely still, 30 people holding their breath. The only sound is the hum of the air conditioning, the distant traffic outside, the weight of truth settling over everyone. David turns to Robert. "I want to do something." Robert steps forward. His voice is rough. "What do you need?" "I want to dedicate today's episode to Bruce Lee, a title card before the opening credits. In memory of Bruce Lee, 1940 to 1973. He pauses, and I wanted to say something else. What? The man who should have been Kane. Robert's face goes pale, his mouth opens, closes, opens again. David. The network will never approve that. You're admitting on national television that you should not have this role. You're undermining your own show, your own career. I know. Then why? Because it is true. And today, truth matters more than my career, more than the show, more than what the network wants. He looks at Robert directly. Bruce Lee is dead. He was 32 years old. He had a wife, 2 children, decades of life ahead of him. And the last thing this industry did to him was reject him for being too Chinese. The least I can do is admit publicly what everyone already knows. Robert is quiet for a long moment. 30 years in television. He has seen actors demand bigger trailers, more money, better billing. He has never seen an actor demand to be publicly diminished, demand to admit on network television that he does not deserve his own role. I will make the call. I cannot promise anything. That is all I ask. David turns back to Frank, the gaffer who called him, relieved. Frank. Frank looks up. His eyes are wet. I am not angry at you. You said what everyone was thinking. But I need you to understand something. He steps closer. Bruce Lee was 32 years old. He had 2 children who will grow up without a father, a wife who will sleep alone tonight, students who will never learn from him again, dreams that will never be realized, films that will never be made. He puts his hand on Frank's shoulder. Whatever you think of me, whatever I deserve for taking his role, he did not deserve to die, and I would trade places with him in a heartbeat if I could, not because I am noble, because the world needs Bruce Lee more than it needs David Carradine. Frank's voice comes out rough, broken. I am sorry. I should not have said what I said. You are forgiven. David turns to address the entire room. Now, we have work to do. We have scenes to shoot. And we are going to make today's episode the best work we have ever done. Every frame, every line, every movement. We are going to honor the man who created this show, the man who showed the world what martial arts could be, the man who deserved to be here and never got the chance. He looks around. Does anyone have a problem with that? Silence. Then one person starts clapping, then another. Then 30 people applauding in a soundstage in Burbank. Not for David Carradine the actor. For David Carradine the man who told the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. They film for 6 more hours. The most focused work the crew has ever done. Every scene carrying something extra. Something invisible. Something that honors the man who is not there. The dedication aired 2 weeks later. The network refused the line about Bruce Lee deserving the role. Too controversial, too honest. They allowed In Memory of Bruce Lee, 1940 to 1973. A master, a legend. It was not everything David wanted, but it was something. The first time a major American television show acknowledged Bruce Lee after his death. The first public recognition from the production that was built on his rejected concept. Frank DeLuca worked on Kung Fu for 3 more seasons. He never made another comment about David and Bruce Lee. When people asked about that day, he would tell them the story, about what David said, about the 60 seconds that changed how he thought about the man in the cane robes. He would say, David Carradine taught him something about guilt that day. that carrying it in silence makes it heavier, that speaking it out loud is the only way to set it down, that honoring what was lost is the only way to deserve what was gained. Years later, David would talk about July 20th, 1973, in interviews, would say it was the day he understood what he owed Bruce Lee. Not an apology, not a performance, the truth. He would say, Bruce Lee taught him something that day, without ever meeting him, without ever speaking a word to each other, without ever being in the same room. Bruce Lee taught him that the roles we take from others never really belong to us, that we carry them in trust, that the only way to honor a debt you can never repay is to admit it exists. David Carradine lived another 36 years after that day, made dozens more films, revived his career with Kill Bill, became a legend in his own right. But he never forgot July 20th, 1973. Never forgot the 60 seconds when everyone expected him to feel relief and he felt only grief. Never forgot Frank DeLuca's accusation and his own response, because that was the day David Carradine stopped hiding behind the role, the day he stopped pretending he deserved what was given to him. The day he told the truth about Bruce Lee. Who in your life are you connected to by circumstance, by decisions you did not make, by roles you took that belonged to someone else, and when that person is gone, when the door closes forever, what will you do with the 60 seconds when everyone is watching? Will you stay silent and let them believe you are relieved? Or will you do what David Carradine did? Stand up, tell the truth, honor what was lost, even when it costs you everything, especially when it costs you everything, because that is how guilt becomes grace. That is how taking becomes giving. That is how 60 seconds changes a legacy forever.